I have a woefully undersubscribed subreddit. So please do me a favour, if you're a Redditor, head on over to r/postmortem studios and talk about anything related to any of my shenanigans. Peace. Hello lovelies. Today we're looking at No Rest for the Wicked, an adventure by J. Stuart Pate, I'm guessing that's how you say it, for Lamentations of the Flame Princess, illustrated by Alex Washo, I think. Right, I got this for free as part of a bundle from James Raji and Lamentations of the Flame Princess, but as you're about to see, that doesn't really influence how I review things. It's a small hardback, about 30 pages. It's very nicely made, as all Lamentations stuff is, but frankly I question whether that's appropriate for a 30-page adventure. And adventures are horrible things to review because you can't really review them without giving anything away. So with all that in mind, let's have a quick flick through. And sorry, Alex Mayo did the layout and art. No, completely wrong. Jez Gordon did the art. Layout and cartography was Alex Mayo. Cover art was Yannick Bouchard. Okay, anyway, that out of the way. It's a nice looking thing. I do like the art. I think it's nice and characterful and appropriate for Lamentations or any other sort of dark fantasy game. You have a brief, possibly too brief, historical overview of when and where this is supposed to be set, a timeline of events, the setup. It's an easy hook for a short adventure to drop into your main campaign. Basically, you get background information on all the involved characters, a more in-depth timeline of events, but the adventure itself is very, very simple. You're at a place, thing happens, how do you react to the thing? It is basically it, and I can't really say much more without giving a lot away. The location is just another inn, really, so I mean, you could use it as a recurring location, perhaps, depending how things turn out, but it's not got a great deal of longevity to it. The adventure is perhaps most notable for the fact that it is an entirely mundane adventure. There are no supernatural elements, there is no gonzo weirdness. It is a welcome breath of normality in a sea of OSR strangeness. So on that side of things, it's welcome, and a refreshing change. But otherwise, it might not be quite what you're looking for in an adventure. You have a description of the layout of the whole place, all the usual stuff, and some attendant sort of possible other locations, such as a military camp. Then it goes into the details on all the characters. It's a small cast, so you could invest some pretty decent roleplay into it if you, as the games master, can properly familiarise yourself with all the personalities. And like I say, it's a fairly basic plot, but it's tied into the sort of religion and wars of the period, which is nice. Fairly decent map, but pretty simplistic. But then, what do you expect, really? And that's it. About 30 pages of a very basic, very mundane adventure. It's all well written and everything. It could have done with a bit more detail and some options for expanding it. I just don't know that it is worth the level of presentation and effort that Lamentations makes, particularly as a hardback. You know, that increases production costs, that increases shipping costs. which means you end up with an overinflated price for something that is a very basic adventure that in ye olden days would have been a magazine article in a role-playing game magazine, something like that. Maybe this would have been better as a giveaway for Free RPG Day, something like that. I don't think that it is, despite the great presentation, the amount of background that you do get, it's just such an absolutely bog standard kind of encounter idea. It doesn't seem. It's going to sound more judgmental than I mean to be, but it doesn't seem worthy of this kind of treatment. So I don't. It's fine, but I don't rate it as a product, particularly at this kind of level of presentation. So there, if you were worried that me getting free product from Lamentations was going to bend my opinion for reviews, that should quell that forever. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing super right about it either. And from my perhaps distorted point of view as a game publisher and designer myself, the decisions made for the presentation and the format and everything seem a bit off to me. But what do I know? That's a matter of personal taste. Style, can't really fault it too much, except that perhaps even the normal people in the book kind of look like monsters in the way that they're presented, particularly Gabriela Herzog. What is going on? It looks like one of the psychic races from SLA Industries. I'm not entirely sure that's appropriate. Anyway, so style, yeah, it gets knocked back a little bit from certain choices. 4 out of 5. In terms of substance, it's okay. It's got what you need. I would have liked to have seen more gone into in the sort of details around things, the history around things, maybe some locations around the inn and so on, so you could use it as a jumping off point for a campaign. Maybe some more notes on running more mundane campaigns without all the gonzo weirdness and so on. More historical campaigns. Yeah, something to just bulk it out. I think it could have done with being maybe twice the size with additional supporting material. So in terms of substance, there's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing right with it either. So I'll give it a substance score of 3. So that's Star 4, Substance 3, 7 out of 10, 3.5 out of 5. I expect that it is pricier than you would want. So in terms of value for money, that's probably where it's gonna get hurt. And it's just the format and everything kind of baffling. But there you go. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing particularly right with it either. The presentation is above average. If you want something more mundane and historical, then maybe it's more your cup of tea, and since those kind of materials are fairly rare, might be an idea. Zang.
Sure, you could play one of those hoity-toity horror games where the most horrifying thing that happens is someone wearing a corset who really shouldn't. Or you could grind a zombie's face into a belt sander.